Georgia lost in a basketball game, heated, to its arch rival, Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Now, meanwhile, the students and non-students had been demonstrating outside my dormitory since I had been admitted there. And this particular night, they were so angry that they left that game, the end of that game, and joined the demonstrators outside of my room.
Oh my goodness.
And at some point, I'm not paying attention, as I said, but I'm sitting there and I saw this rock
Oh,
come through my window. Someone had thrown a rock
oh
through
my
my
God.
window.
Oh my God.
And I tell you, the way Black girls were brought up in the South, one of the first things I thought about was, glass shards all over my clothes. But seriously, shortly after that, the dean came and said that Hamilton and I were being suspended, quote unquote, for our own safety.
Oh boy.
And as I was getting my things together, I called my mother on the phone outside and I said, "Ma, don't turn on the television." Well, that was like telling my mother,
Two
turn
turned
on
it
the
on.
television, right? And as I'm walking out, the girls upstairs, they finally dispersed the crowd with tear gas after they had made their point,
Right.
after hours of making their point, anti-Charlayne points. Well, the girls, they had to take all of their sheets off their beds because of the tear gas that had come in from outside.
Uh-huh.
So, and they were told, take your sheets off and we'll get some clean sheets. Well, as I'm walking out, they had all come down and formed a semicircle. And as I walked past them to go out to the car where the dean was taking me, one of them threw out a quarter and said, "Here, Charlayne, go upstairs and change my sheets." That's how bad it
Oh my
was.
goodness. That's horrible.
Partly,
Yes.
partly.
Yes.
Now, quick forward, get to Atlanta that night, and we get the lawyers go to court and get our case up front, and we get readmitted. But it was the weekend, so they said, "Well, come stay home over the weekend and get refreshed, and then go back." Well, real quick, I think this is important. So let me just say, there were other things that went on with that, but we get back, and a couple of days into me being back, I hear a knock on the door. I open the door, and there are these three or four white girls. I would call them white because I grew up in the South and we knew Black and we knew white. And so they said, "They bags of groceries. We've come to cook dinner for you if it's okay."
Oh my
I
goodness.
said, "Sure." So they come in, and one starts messing with the kitchen and putting stuff out, and another one's setting the table. And one of them starts telling me something that I did not know about. I grew up in the South where there was Black and there was white. Well, these girls started to tell me about how they identified with me because of their ancestors who were Holocaust victims.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
the first time I had heard about the Holocaust.
Oh my goodness.
And they educated me that night as I educated them. And I'm still in touch with a couple of them to this very day. And that's one of the reasons why I say we all have to be so careful with language,
Yes.
because when we say Black or we say white, it's like we're generalizing.
Yes.
But there are differences, and there are people who have supported us throughout our challenges, and some have died for us: Goodman and Cheney and Schwerner and
Sure.
Viola Liuzzo and so many. And when John Lewis was challenging the continuing segregation and failure to acknowledge the 54 decision on the interstate highways, he left DC with an interracial group, and they all signed their wills before they left because they had heard about the bad South and
Sure.
they just didn't know, but they were willing to give it a shot. So they get to South Carolina. John gets off the bus, starts into the bus station through the front door. A bunch of white guys who were standing around, I don't know what they were doing, and they yell, "You can't go in there. You got to go around the back." And John says, "No, I'm going in this front door out of the decision of the 54th Supreme Court, blah, 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 blah." and they jumped on him and
Oh,
started beating the you know what. And who gets off the bus to help defend him but some of the white passengers, some white guys.
yes.
And they get the heck beat out of them too. But eventually they all get back on the bus and they continue on their journey to ensure that the 54 decision is honored all over this country. And I think that that's one of the things that we need to continue to do, is to educate our children, whether no matter what state they're in, and no matter how hard the campaign against Black history is, we have to not just endure, we have to overcome these challenges, because it's what's made America great. It's our journey towards a more perfect union,
Sure.
to honor all of our people.
And to live up to the ideals that are embodied in the Constitution and all these other very well-respected and deservedly so documents and stuff. We're just asking the country to live up to its promise.
Absolutely. And it's a good promise. It's a great promise.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that it be taught in all of its manifestations.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad you brought that point up too, because it's easy to paint with a broad brush and then just demonize one group or the other. It doesn't matter. But it shows how there's good and bad in every person and every group and so forth. So it's important, I think, to acknowledge that, and as well as the contributions, as you say. Sometimes whites have given up their lives for the promise of equality for all, and it's important.
That's right.
It's important to recognize.
I mean, nobody ever said a perfect union.
Exactly.
They said a more perfect union. And so those of us who believe in that, regardless of that, I carry out what I think is helping that in my own profession and in writing about our Black lives. And so that people who have not had that information will get it. My latest book is called My People. It's 5 decades of writing about Black lives. And I don't know how many people have told me, white people as well as Black people, that some of that history they did not know.
Yeah.
And so history is so important everywhere in the world, and particularly here, because we have been a guiding light for so many countries. I worked for 8 years more than that, 17 years in South Africa. And as a journalist traveling around the continent, but so many people there were looking to America's history to help guide them towards democratic states and democratic countries.
Sure.
And so it continues to be important for us to make sure that our history is taught, and correctly, properly taught, as they say.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No sweeping under the rug, no covering up things. It's the good, bad, and the ugly. Everything should be included when retelling the story. It's just basically what actually happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm so glad to see a generation of young people. I've been calling for a coalition of the generations, because I think that my generation, I'm now 82, but I've been through, and I won't say but, and I've been through a lot, and I think I have some things to share. But there are others, and I just think that we have a new generation that's willing to step up and take responsibility for ensuring a more perfect union.
Yes.
At the same time, I think that they can learn from some of the victories we've had, and some of the mistakes we've made.
Sure.
And I think, again, our history is our armor, and it's very important that it be taught from the very first grade all the way up through, as long as people are going to college and
absolutely
going beyond.
I could not agree more. I think it's extremely important.